Today, I will be going over coastal dialects in Korea and Mexico. We will be covering Busan Satori and the acento paseño, which is in the peninsula of Mexico. Busan Gwanggyeok시 is Korea's first directly governed city, meaning that it is not under the governing body of a province. It's separated from the Gyeongsangnam province in 1963. It is the second largest city in South Korea by population, and with it, it's probably also the second most known city as well. Um, it was the first international port in Korea, recognized in 1876 and then opened in 1883. It stayed a large port hub for the country until now, and it is a modern industrialized city, although its dialect has historical rural remnants. La Paz is a small city town at the bottom of the Mexican peninsula. While it is a popular tourist destination, it is outshone by Cabo San Lucas, that's just an hour south of it. So it stayed a pretty small rural beach town. It is sustained by commercial fishing now, but it was originally built off of pearls that were mined in the bays. One of the last known pearls is actually the largest pearl on Queen Elizabeth II's crown. It was a gift given to her by some of the first European settlers and merchants of La Paz. So, Pusan Saturi. Korean is a language that relies on pitch and intonation for meaning. In the standard Seoul dialect, there is at most one high pitch that is preceded by low pitch syllables. There doesn't necessarily need to be a pitch in a word. In the Busan dialect, though, that same high pitch, so where there would have been a high pitch, it would have been one syllable earlier than in the standard accent. The Busan dialect can also have two high-pitched syllables in a word, one following the other. These begin to make up the tones in the dialect. The Busan dialect has been studied and found to be tonal. There's arguments amongst researchers if it's a three-tone dialect with high, mid, and low tones, or just a two-tone dialect with just high and low tones. From what I've been seeing, there's more leaning towards just two tones of high and low tones. There are some researchers who compare it in similarity to the four tones of Mandarin Chinese, suggesting that it retains some of its historical features from a very old Korean. The Pusan dialect has some vowel sounds that have a bit of a different pronunciation to standard Korean. Is pronounced as so umshik would be pronounced omshik. There is also a tendency to drop the first vowel in compound vowels, so words like tosokwan would be pronounced tosokan. Dialect speakers also pronounce a sangshiot as just a shiot. There are some grammatical changes as well, most notably the question endings. Other than the tones in the dialect, I think it is what stands out the most in the dialect. Questions in the Busan dialect tend to end with a, ko, na, or no. Dialect speakers also tend to replace eso endings with iso. So while there hasn't been much research on the Paseño accent, a Paseño, by the way, is a native of La Paz. There is noticeable differences between the standard Mexico City accent and the La Paz Paseño one. While it is spoken rather fast, there is a tendency to draw out the final syllables. A lot of locals attribute this to the beach life and the location of the city, just kind of the vibes. In the final syllable, if the last letter is a consonant, it is pretty noticeable that they either drop the consonant completely or they soften it so much that it's almost indistinguishable with the vowels. Again, because La Paz is a beach town, a lot of locals are known to be a bit softer spoken. I think this has to do just with the rurality of the city. The rurality tends to make them speak a little bit faster, but the ocean makes them speak with a bit of a sing-songy voice. They have more intonation changes in their accent. So I think it just has to do again with the vibes of the ocean and just like a very slow life. Um, Busan, so we're just going to focus on some vocabulary here. Busan vocabulary differs from Seoul, but in a way that is just like variations of standard words. Just a few differences. There are some words where it's just completely different, like matna instead of like jincha, for really. The words, though, you can, I think, at least to me, you can kind of tell where the words are derived from. The Paseño vocabulary, on the other hand, is like a slang, and it's just like very permanent now, like Mepuchi and A la Bestia. But to me, they sound like they have English origins, and since the peninsula originally was so isolated from the Mexican mainland, a lot of their imports were from the United States, so it could make sense that they do have some English influence in their slang. While there isn't much research that states the Busan dialect has much influence from its location, in comparison to the La Paz accent, they do share some similarities such as the drawn out endings and intonation fluctuations. In Mexico, this is something that's solely accredited to the coastal location of the city, so I was left wondering if Busan's coastal location has more to do with its dialect than it is given credit for. That is all. Thank you.